Okay, so today I'm starting a project that's been a long time coming now. I've been ordering a lot of parts for a while, and finally I've acquired all of them. The last was the SD card extension. No, wait, it was the screws. I needed a certain amount of each of these size of screws to assemble the GDEMU module. And I needed the SD card extension. I decided to go with that option and then needed the screws. I'm going to be doing the Noctua Fan Upgrade. I got the bracket printed for that, also the GDEMU bracket from Laser Bear. Both of these he has posted. His designs are great. They're the standard as far as I'm concerned. I go to them every time there's an option for his. The GDEMU itself, I have the updated version here. It should be inside there. I haven't even opened it yet. Got the Dreamcast. I got a variety of parts here that I've acquired from Mauser's for the battery upgrade, the Noctua Fan Upgrade. I'm going to change the fuse for the controllers to a resettable fuse. So there's a number of upgrades that we're going to be doing here that I'll probably break down into a few different videos, but I'm hoping to get started on it here today. And first thing we're going to need to do, also this will be getting a complete restoration along the way too, so that'll include all the plastics. We'll be getting a good wash, full restoration, the usual treatment that I like to do around here. So this will be my first time even opening it up with Dreamcast, so we're going to kind of figure this out together. I've seen a few things as I upgrade or researched all these mods. Screw underneath this modem. Okay, so that releases the top. We'll be working on this controller board here. We got 4 screws there that are coming out. Release that ribbon cable while it's still anchored down. Small connector there. And it's still held captive underneath there, but we got this module out. I think this is what we're going to be working on here first, this battery here. We're going to test it, but I'm quite sure that it's dead. We're going to defeat this resistor here. We're going to put a diode in its path, so that we can use a regular CR2032 battery here instead of this rechargeable one. So we want to stop the charging current from going back into the battery, so that's why we'll be using a diode here. So we'll be able to clip this leg off of the resistor and just add that diode simply into the circuit. I have a battery holder also that'll be going here so that the batteries will be easily replaceable. And there's a fuse on here that we're also going to be replacing. The next thing we want to do to disassemble this is going to be to remove this optical drive. It's a good working optical drive, so it'll go peacefully to its shelf and live out its remaining days operational. Okay, that lifts just straight out of there. That connector is what connects it to the main board. this optical drive, I believe, and I was just done for. So, like I said, it was a good working optical drive. It was still reading burn games and everything. I'll put that in my bin of spare parts. It's probably the last anyone will ever see of it right there. So, we'll say goodbye to that. And I guess we'll just continue to break down this system. What we want to do is just get everything kind of out and inventoried. I'm gonna get this power supply out of here. Okay, so that is being held down by that connector. Okay, power supply is out. And keep going. I'm just going to remove this ribbon cable, that orientation. I think we can just start removing screws. I see we have a mixture here now though, of brass and black. Okay, so that piece is out. Here down to the main board. And looks like that can just lift out now too. So that's not so bad. Dreamcast is pretty easy to take apart. Is this, yeah, we can keep on going. Everything comes out after that. Yeah. This is great. I'm going to remove these assemblies here. This plastic will be an easy wash. This comes out of there now, simply. That'll be easy to clean. Well, this looks easy to clean. This fan should be replaced. I need to install a jumper. I ordered a bunch of connectors and such, and I should be able to build like a harness that'll be like OEM as close to possible. I hope that's my plan. Let's see what we got, because I ordered a bunch of parts from Mauser's, and it's just, you guys that order from Mauser's know how many options you have. And you're hoping that you got all the right ones when you have these projects kind of planned out just in your mind of what you want to do. So all these plastics are now completely apart, and that's just nothing but bare plastic there. I'll be gentle with the decals, but I'll be giving this a good wash with warm soapy water, especially these pieces here. The top cover can probably come apart a bit more. Let's have a look. These mechanisms are all coming apart. Goes. Store that over there like that, just for it to get bumped away there inevitably. These buttons will probably just pop out, like so. This foam still stuck down here. I'm going to try removing that as gently as possible. I'm going to come in there with the end of this spudger. I think that's actually working. I'm getting underneath that adhesive there, if you guys can see. Just a small amount of it. If I just take my time and go gently, I should be able to install that right back with the original adhesive. Just like that. You see that original adhesive is still there and probably still tacky. Can reuse that even. It should all go back in just like new. This is also spring loaded. Wants a spring on me right now even. So, looks like it's got a catch right there. It goes underneath there and hooks. Okay, well I don't think we can take it apart any more than that. That is completely disassembled. We have a lot of parts, a lot of screws here. But we'll be able to give this a good clean. It's already quite clean, as you can see. It's not even dirty at all. But we'll still be giving it a nice good wash to get what you can't see and make it clean as new. And the rest of it too, we'll be getting a refurbishment. This power supply, I was thinking about replacing it and probably will eventually. I'm going to give it a good inspection, but on a first inspection it actually looks good. None of the capacitors are at least bulged at the top. I don't see any kind of corrosion or anything on it, so it was working fine when we turned it off, so it's still working now, I'm assuming, and we're going to give it a good cleanup. And we'll use it for now, but eventually probably replace it. There's more modern power supplies for this. I'm surprised I actually didn't get one with all the other upgrades that I'm doing here. But it might not be necessary either, so we'll start on the upgrades next. I'm going to get some stuff out of here and clear it away. Probably start the wash process on the plastics so that they're drying as the rest of the stuff is being done. I think we'll start with the controller board. That seems simple enough to just change that battery out. And when we reassemble, it'll be going back together with the GDEMU inside of it. Let's have a look, see what we got here. I want to make sure that we have the new updated version. I've had this actually for a while, waiting for the rest of it. I wanted to make sure because I ordered it just bare, so it came with the heat sinks, which I don't think I'll be using, but I still wanted to have them because I'll use them for something else, if nothing else. Let's see here what we got. But this should be, we got some standoffs in there. The newest version, which is 5.20, but that should be 5.20 point something, I think, but that'll show up in the menu, and that's when we'll know for sure. But I believe this to be the newest version. So, we'll get that installed as we go, and that'll be part of the reassembly, where it'll be mounted to these brackets with those screws that I got. Somehow it gets mounted to here with these here, and the reset button's going to be there. We're going to have a extension cable. I have a extension cable right here that will be installed into this 3D printed. I printed these parts myself from Laser Bear's account, which he supplies these great, these amazing 3D prints for the inserts and many other things too. I've used other of his prints too, many of them. So I'll leave a link below for the stuff here that I've printed and where to get some of this stuff from. It's easy enough to find most of it, but yeah, we got lots on the go here, as you guys can see. But I'm gonna get cleaned up a bit here and get started on kind of one project at a time. We got everything fully disassembled, and now we're just gonna like get all these pieces all cleaned up. I'm gonna take these all down to the sink and get them washed up. So I don't know if you guys want to see that. I might show you guys just a little of it maybe. I know some of you guys are here just to watch me clean stuff because I do enough of that on this channel, but that's part of the restoration process too. So all these plastics, they like getting cleaned every now and then. They look real good after you do it. So that's where I'll be going right now. So I'll see you down there. Okay, there's nothing really special going on here. You take your plastics, you get warm soapy water, and you give everything a good scrub. I'm going to get into all those little cracks and crevices, buttonholes. Make sure you get in the seams, most importantly, and the vents, of course. Back here on the port, where the ports are, and the seams of where the consoles meet. Want to get in there really good. Just another one of those exercises where you're just going to get out of it what you put into it. So the more you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it. So this is a real good opportunity to get into all those places that you'll never be able to clean again. You're probably really only going to want to ever do this one time. So you want to do it right the first time. It's only just going to take a few extra minutes to get it done correctly. So I like to get in there and give it a good spray as well into all those spots that you can't get with a brush. And really it was clean in there to begin with, but there might just be a little bit of dust that can settle into those corners that the spray gets in there and gets that. I'm gonna let that one then soak in there for a little bit. This front controller port, this will be important to get a good clean scrub on. Just imagine how nicely that is and easier it is to clean. Now, just a focal point on the console, a touch point. Now we get in there and get that a good clean. You can see all. These pieces just come nice and clean too. It's a really gratifying feeling, at least for me. My OCD has a certain itch that this scratches. And I love bringing this stuff back to life and seeing it come clean like new again. So again, this one's got decals on it, so you're going to want to be a little more gentler when you're dealing with decals. Usually they're very high quality decals on these consoles. They're going to stand up to getting wet. I wouldn't want to be like scrubbing them with alcohol or anything though, but warm soapy water is mild enough that we're usually never going to have much of a problem. And that's on a case-by-case basis. Just because these ones are super high quality doesn't mean that all of them are. The paper type, you really want to avoid getting wet. Again, those seams, you can see how it's got that lip. You want to really make sure you get into that lip. So that's where all the dust, even when you would wipe this in its lifetime, anytime that you're wiping it, you can imagine that some of that wiped grime ends up in that seam as the brush or whatever passes over it. a lid. Of course, you want the lid to have a nice shine on it, so give that a good scrub. And then a good lather. And the seam, these are these little seams right here that are so hard to get. And that even when they are white, that's where that dirt will settle. The edge of these disc trays, even inside edges. This gearing, which we'll be applying probably some poly coat to that when we're done, even some grease. And these RF shields, same thing. They got these grills and vents on them too. And you really want to be careful when you're doing these because these edges can be quite sharp, like razor sharp. They don't really need the soap like the other ones. They just need a rinse. This one here is got these heat sinks in there. Just want a good rinse. I want to make sure that you got all the soap out from underneath these plates. Let me give that a blast of air even. I forgot the buttons. I'm gonna grab those. Give them a soak, but you guys see what I'm doing here. I'll finish up, dry up, clean up, let this stuff dry while we get back to working on the mods. So yeah, it's the same thing with all the consoles that I restore around here. I like to give them a good warm soapy bath like this and good scrubbing, and you're gonna get out of it what you put into it. So we'll see you back up at the bench. Okay, we're back on the bench and we got our controller module. We're going to replace this rechargeable, most likely long expired battery with a normal CR2032 battery, which is non-rechargeable. So to do that, we'll defeat the charging circuit here by inserting a diode there. Also, this here is a fuse, which this one is still good, but it's a known problem that if a controller were to short that fuse out, or any kind of problem with this module and the controller ports could take that fuse out and it wouldn't reset. You would have to come in and replace it at a future time. But with a resettable fuse, if any problems were to occur, you could power cycle and it would reset. So that's what we're going to install here today as a preventative. So I'm going to use my OmniFixo actually here for the first time, and we're just going to, I don't know if this was necessary to come in with the desoldering gun and the whole bit, but certainly going to make it easier. I've seen some solder around here. I know I got a piece of it around somewhere, but as you can see, we've just got a pretty big mess here now because of all the work we got on the go. Come in with some flux. Keeps everything good. Those will be the spots we're going to desolder. So I find it's most effective when you come in with some fresh solder, blend it with the old solder, and then use the desoldering gun after that. As you guys can see there, those holes are perfectly cleaned out. That battery just released perfectly. These OmniFixos are a treat already, I can tell. I can reach in there. I'm gonna want some tweezers for this. Adjust that so easily on the OmniFixo to any angle you want. It was free, there's a twist. There's a bit of a twisty tie in the end of that previous fuse. So those holes are nicely cleared out. I might as well just go ahead and do this one too. Clear there to me. Just gonna bring it out now without, so you guys can see here what we're doing. I'm just gonna try to put through the other side like that. In that spot will go a diode. So yeah, these I can adjust that any way I want. I think I'm done with the desoldering now. So I'm gonna unplug this. I always like to put some on the tip there when I'm done with it. Okay, let that cool off. So now, in this kit of a bunch of different things I ordered from Mauser's, I'm not quite sure what we're gonna get in here right now. So there's our diodes, I believe. I think that's our battery holder. I think that's a JST connector for the fan mod. And I do have a couple of those resettable fuses right here. So that's the resettable type. This is what was in there before. We're going to be putting one of these in there in its place, and it's resettable, so if it ever did blow, it would reset. So that's going to go there. I have an extra. I always like to buy all this stuff in bulk. These pieces are only like a few cents each, most of them $1 at most for some. Well, I guess some components can get a little more pricier, but generally these small components are pennies pretty much. And it gets cheaper the more you order, so in this case it looks like I ordered 10 of them. It was probably like cheapest, it was just as cheap to order 10 as it was to probably order like 5. So I'm going to use one of those diodes there to defeat that charging circuit, because I'm probably going to end up doing mods like this more than once. I don't do this as a business, this is only a hobby of mine, but I'm always looking for a good deal too on a console, so if I find a good Dreamcast for a good price, I'll buy that and restore it, and who knows what'll happen to it. So we're just going to clean up there where we had a little bit of flux. This is probably cool enough to move out of the way. So alcohol and Q-tips. There's nothing I use more around here than those two things. And you can see there was just a small bit of flux left on the board when we were in there. Those holes are nice and clean and clear. So with all that cleaned up, the first thing we'll put in is that fuse. So, fuse doesn't matter, doesn't have a polarity or anything. It can go in there anyway. You guys see those little notches that were formed in the legs, so they just kind of click into place. So now from the bottom side I'm going to apply a small amount of flux there again. Okay, so that fuse installed, we just want to come in with the flush cutters, get them nice and tight. Sometimes I just come in and just to make it look a little prettier. Okay, there, I'm happy with that finally. Now, for the diode, come through, and the side with the black ring will be on the bottom side of this. So we want to feed that through. We're going to clip this resistor off right around here after the bend. And this resistor or diode will go through here. First we're going to, this is a little tricky actually. Okay, so as you guys can see, we have that diode there now installed there. And now we're going to join it together with this resistor that was here. To do that, we can clip it off right there. Just a strand of Q-tip fiber in there. Just want to bridge that connection right there, like so. Inspect our work. Okay. I think we got a good connection there on both sides. We can clip this side here off, like so. Go in there and clean up that flux with isopropyl alcohol. You can see we have a diode there now. That'll defeat that charging circuit. Happy with those connections. We'll get the battery fitted. Battery fits only one way there. I got a little bit of flux on my hand here. I'm just going to wipe that off. See that battery holder fits into place there nicely. I went through those 3 holes just fine. We'll come now with some flux. And plenty of it there. We'll make nice good solid connections there for that battery. Okay, that looks pretty good. We're done with the soldering iron on this piece. Inspect our work. We'll clean it up, but you'll see those connections there. We now have the diode to defeat the charging circuit installed, the new battery holder, and the resettable fuse you can maybe see in there. That's installed there. So with those 3 upgrades, this controller port is taken care of. We'll come in here now, and you guys know what I do here, so you can see there's a mess of flux there, which is no big deal. It cleans up easily, so you just come in there with isopropyl alcohol, and this is actually a gratifying feeling of just watching it all come so clean. Seeing your connections, they usually shine up and look a lot better after they have been cleaned. It's also a good time to do a final inspection of your work. Okay, the other side of the board too. We'll have a look at that. Just give it a good clean. All the pieces that you can't clean in the sink with the plastics, you just really want to come in there and just give them all a good, especially these controller ports. You guys can see our new mod in there. See the diode there. No longer is that a charging circuit. So I think we're done here with the controller port mods. It all turned out good, it looks like. We'll know when we test it, but everything looks good on the install, and I'm sure it'll be all fine. But we'll move on to the next mod, which I think will probably be the fan mod, since I think the GDEMU will be the last step as we put it all back together. So for the fan mod, we need to install this new bracket. This is the old fan and housing, so we'll be using a new one with a Noctua fan. So yeah, this controller port just got the new battery that'll hold a 2032. It got a resettable fuse right there that you can see, and then it also got the charging circuit modified so that it just uses a normal CR2032 battery instead of the ML2032 battery, which is more expensive, harder to find, and yeah, the CR2032 is just much cheaper and much easier to find. So a lot easier just to change that out, especially with the battery holder there now. Instead of the soldered battery, you can easily change that in and out of there, no problem, as many times as you want. So with this mod, that should take care of that problem. And the controller fuses should never be a problem either. So this mod's done. I'm going to clean up around here and we'll move on to the next one. See you guys right back here. Okay, we're back here, and I had to do some work off camera because I had a couple of different ideas on how I wanted to do this. You need to introduce a 10k ohm resistor into the circuit for the Noctua fan, and that goes between the 5 volt and the tach. And normally, in most of the mods that I've seen, it's incorporated into an adapter, into a cable adapter, and that's a clean install when it's done correctly and nicely with heat shrink. It looks pretty good, but it does add bulk to your adapter, and I decided that I was going to try to solder it on the back side of the connector between those two legs, the 5 volts and the tach. I'm not sure how well you guys can see that, but I was able to install the resistor on the back side of the connector rather than in the cable adapter that I'm going to also need to make, but I can make it much easier now and not have to have a resistor in the adapter. And as you can see, if you go, and I can measure on the back side there between those two pins, that I have my 9.98 k ohms, 10 k ohms for that resistor. So that's installed there on the board now, along with the resettable fuse, the diode for to defeat the charging circuit, the battery holder. So now everything's all kitted out basically in this controller port module, and I don't have to worry about the Noctua fan. In the future will be just plug and play if I ever had to replace it, because everything will be incorporated into this module now correctly. So I'm gonna get this out of here. We're gonna build the cable adapter next. Okay, so with our Noctua fan, thankfully it actually comes with quite a few accessories, and in that box of accessories we also have this extension cable. And what we're going to end up probably doing here, there's a few different ways that I could have done this, and I think this is the way I'm going to. I had bought these JST little extension cables here, and I'm going to cut this one in half, and that'll adapt to the regular Dreamcast adapter there, connector. And then the wiring actually is different between the fan and this connector, so the wires will end up having to cross. And I think if I cut it here, I might even be able to reuse some of this sheathing. I can cut it back, and when I put the heat shrink tubing over it, I'm hoping I can keep this cable adapter clean looking. And that was the whole point of removing the resistor that's now on the board. So I would like to make a nice clean cable adapter that has 3-wire JST on one side and then the Noctua fan adapter on the other. So in order to do that, we're going to cut this off. I wanted one side to be a little longer Strip these wires back. As you can see, what I need around here is a good pair of strippers. I'm normally working with the wires that are small enough to peel back just with your fingernail. But these ones are... Oh, see, that's what I was hoping not to do. It's okay though, because sometimes it's actually helpful to offset. And I will offset it on the other side as well. So here, I want to cut this one off. And what I want to do is that. So if I cut back that jacket, expose these wires. So my white wire, which is going to have to now be a little longer on this side. So since our red wire needs to be longer, these two other wires will be that much shorter. So now we're going to want to tin all these. Actually, it might be easiest just to even just solder them straight together. So we're going to want some heat shrink tube for this. So we'll put the heat shrink over to this side. Expose our wires here again. I think I will tin these wires first. White went to the red. Okay, that should be good. Red needs to go to the middle one. Turn it a little nicer, and then the yellow one should be going to our black one, which will be on the outside. So I won't be heat shrinking this one because the heat shrink that goes over all of it will insulate this one. I don't want to add any extra bulk in here. I'm actually afraid the heat shrink that's here is already a little on the narrow side to get over the two heat shrinks and these three connections. But those connections all look good from my eyes right here. Yeah, all of those connections. Oh, well, you guys can see them on the camera probably better than I can, but they should all be good. Now should I just put these heat shrinks over top of these two? And just a little bit of hot air. The idea was to reuse some of that sheathing like we did there, and now with this piece of heat shrink going over the rest of it like so. Those offsets that we have in there, I should be able to make this look like pretty close to a factory adapter. Okay, so without the bulk of that resistor and everything in our adapter, our cable adapter should basically look almost like an OEM one. So we'll be able to go from this adapter, this will plug in now, this will be able to have enough reach to go around the corner. Still got that nice flexible sheathing on there that'll adapt directly to our, here's our Noctua fan, and that should plug right into this now, just like so, and this will plug right into here. So with this custom adapter, we should be able to power up our new mod. So we'll go ahead and start getting some of the we're gonna actually get cleaned up around here and start putting the Dreamcast back together. So I'm gonna get all this stuff cleared out of the way. I believe most of the soldering, if not all of the soldering work, I believe now is done. So a lot of the stuff can get put away, cleaned up, and we'll start reassembling and getting all this stuff plugged in and start testing. Alright, we're going to start putting this back together, and I hope you guys were paying attention when you took it apart, because that was my first time doing it. But we got all of our parts and they're all clean. So I remember this tray sitting at the bottom, and then the motherboard. The ports line up in the back. And that feels like it clicked in nicely. And then I believe the other heat shield went over top of that. Okay, I believe everything there is in place. So I see my first mistake. Can you guys spot it yet? Remember that? Yeah, I didn't either. That was trapped that whole time by this, and it is now back in there. Everything is now ready to go back together. The corner wants to lift this corner up. And it's these heat pads, those thermal pads in the middle. So everything is clamped down and kind of pivots over those a little. Supply time. Am I missing anything yet? Okay, this is all going back together pretty well. This is where I believe I gotta install the GDEMU, so I actually gotta take a look at that. We're gonna need to assemble this. I have an SD card extension there. But right now I think we're looking at still doing this, finishing this mod. So this is gonna go in there like that. The orientation that we want. We want it to be exhausting air, which is this way. I think we want that cable to come out the bottom. We want to mount it in there like this. I think to do that, it should come with screws. And one of them clips in on the bottom, which is nice. It's a very nice bracket. Very nice. So, you see one step that I did backwards. You have to mount the bracket before the fan. That's fine, that's one screw. And this needs to get mounted down first because this screw was inaccessible after that. So that super nice bracket in place, we should be able to so an adapter now should be even easier to plug that in first. Would have been easier to plug that in first. I gotta see how that GDEMU looks in here still yet too. I think I can screw this down there. I think that's actually going to work out pretty good. The wires can get the two heat shrink kind of end at the same place there. It'll just take a nice, because this is the airflow path, and the wire should be unobtrusive there for that. Okay, so with that plugged in, I need to take a look now how this goes. This is an SD card extender. I don't know where you buy these. The only place, there's no unofficial place for these. And I bought two of them because you just never know what you're getting here, I don't think. I just hope that it's the right mount and size. And that looks to be correct because that looks really good actually. I'm quite impressed with the fit already of this. So this is what I had to buy this extra screw kit for. Because I didn't buy this all as a kit. I wanted to have all the extra parts and everything for just about every step of the way. And now I do. we go. Yeah, that cheap tool that came with it, I can't even believe I tried to use that. This iFixit tool, as you guys can see there. Pretty quick work of that. Okay, we have that mounted. Looks nice, looks like a good fit. Happy with that. We need to figure out now. Should have looked at how this was done. I got a big mess on my hands here. There's a bracket for this now that is here. And then I believe this mounts to. And there's some standoffs and stuff too. I need to check that. There's these 3 standoffs. So I need to check a couple things here, how this just goes together here with this particular bracket and such. And I'll be right back because I just need to familiarize myself with what goes where here. So be right back. We're gonna see if we can remember how all these top pieces go back together now, including these springy pieces. So there's a catch there. Remember going over here. So almost a spring the door. That feels pretty good right there. Feels like I got some tension. And some spring. Probably those 2 screws, I hope. And of course I've got my bit switched. I didn't put the other one back where it's supposed to be. So that's extra wonderful. That screwdriver is not going to be the one that does it. I have a spring under tension under my finger right now too. So that's just the worst when you change your bit and not put it back. There it is. Okay, so that's tension there now. I don't think this hinge is put back together, right? Nope, not until that's in there. So this latch piece, I think I need to even print a different one because of this Noctua Fan Mod. All these parts are clean, reassembled, so I'll probably end up having to print. So that's what these 2 screws and this latch mechanism is. I think I have to change that to a different latch. There's the spring there, can't lose all that. I had to, I don't even have the bracket printed for the GDEMU. I think this is actually from a PlayStation X Station. That's another project that I plan to do here soon. So that's not even the bracket I was looking for. We have this foam piece. You guys remember we were able to get that off delicately, and it should go back in there delicately as well, just like so. And that adhesion is doing its thing. So there we go. That all went back nice, clean. Actually, I'm going to apply the smallest amount. And just the smallest amount of some moly coat. Well, this isn't completely necessary. It could help. Okay, that friction point is now nicely lubricated. Very nice. I think we're just waiting for that bracket now to finish printing, which will probably be quick. Be ready any minute probably. And then we assemble this with the GDEMU onto it. And that goes together there with a button, and that'll clamp down onto here. This will mount like this, and has a button that has the nice Dreamcast insignia on there. I can push that button for you. I'll figure out the latch because there was a couple of different latches depending on which way you went. Our custom cable turned out really nice. I didn't want any of that bulk I was telling you about in the resistor and the adapter anywhere. So I wanted that to come out clean because that intersection is already quite tight. I didn't want it to be obstructing the fan in any way, especially touching it. So that nice tight bend there coming off of basically a factory connector allows that to pass right through there nicely. So I'm really happy with the way this turned out. I don't know, maybe if there's an opportunity to reduce a little bit of the slack on this side, but just this transition here turned out really nice. So I got lucky for my first try at this because there's always room for improvement. Every time you do these mods, you always kind of find a way to do it a little bit better maybe the next time. So everything turned out pretty good here so far. We'll see when it all turns on, if it turns on. So we've had this thing apart to every single screw was out. We're getting soon ready to test it with the GDEMU inside and the fan and the battery. I have a new battery here while we're waiting. Actually, we can actually get this battery installed. The positive side goes to the inside of the console, like so. That should have power now. We'll be able to test that. We should be able to set the clock once and for all until a few more years when we can easily just replace that again with 4 screws. So I'll go and check on the other 3D printed bracket, and then we'll be back to kind of get this thing half put back together, enough to test anyways. I don't think we even need the top cover for testing. But once we get the GDEMU installed, we'll be able to test the fan and make sure everything still works. So we'll be back here in a little bit. Okay, so we're back. We have that bracket 3D printed. I'm actually 3D printing the latch for the top door right now as we speak. So we're going to be able to go ahead and get this GDEMU mounted to the bracket. That'll be with these new screws. It's a little tricky cutting threads into new plastic. Feel for it. Goes down. Comes on there nicely. That hole lines up good for the other one. Just, I think. I forgot. It's going to be a problem now. Gotta get that button in there. A mistake. Okay, with all that assembled, and that ribbon cable is about as good as you're going to get in there. That button feels nice and functional. It came with some standoffs. I don't know that I actually use those again. Okay, well, that actually mounts in there quite nicely. And I think we're ready to test it. I'm gonna go ahead and, yeah, there's plenty of room for all that. That worked out great. This fan adapter mod worked out perfect. I can secure that anywhere back there. It's fine just wherever it sits naturally. And that airway, and there's zero impedance there from that cable. It's nicely routed away from the fan. The upgraded fan, all the upgrades here on the controller port with the resettable fuse, the new batteries installed, defeated the charging circuit, installed that resistor on the back of this connector for the Noctua fan, the GDEMU, full restoration. So let's get this thing hooked up and let's test it and see how it works. Okay, so we're about to try this out and see if all or any of these mods are working now. Hopefully everything turns on. Okay, it turns on. The fan is spinning. It's booting. This is all a good sign. I would expect us to have to set the date. I'm going to just set it to the year 2000 for now. And we're going to test that the next time it boots. And GDEMU is installed. And the games appear to be working. So that went great. Everything appears to be working flawlessly. The fan is turning. Wow, it's actually exhausting quite a bit of air. And I can't even hear it at all. The GDEMU is working perfectly. We'll cycle the battery now and see if it asks us to set the clock. I'll even unplug the power. But the games are working. We've got no problems here. Everything is working. So let's actually give it the ultimate test, and we'll remove AC power there just for a second or two. And once a little bit of time has passed, we'll plug it back in. Be very careful. This is not how you're supposed to operate your Dreamcast or any console. There's dangerous amounts of voltages there right now. So be very careful if you're ever to be operating a console that is not fully assembled. But hopefully it does not ask us for the time, even though I'm going to have to go now find where to set that. I got a different video there. Video's not quite right, it seems. I wanted to see that I had the newest version of this. The video seems like it cleared up there. 5.20.5, so I think that is the newest version. So that was what I was wanting to be sure that I got the latest version. And everything is working. This is one of the problematic games. This and Skies of Arcadia both had issues. two of the best games arguably too, so I wanted to be sure to get the latest updated version. This one is also in theory I believe to be updatable, and previous older ones weren't, at least not easily, and not that there's been any updates for a few years now it seems. I think everything's kind of ironed out and perfected now, especially with this latest version, which is also the reason why I wanted to have it. So it is now already fully updated. All these games are working on it. I'm just using an old 8 gigabyte card right now, and I think that even just maybe helps it work a little easier. But I'm glad that that extension that I bought off AliExpress, you never know what you're going to get there. And when you have to bend them around and fit them in there in such a tight space, sometimes that everything is working on the first try. So the fan's working. It didn't ask us for the clock. The clock mod's working now. So this Dreamcast is kind of in its ultimate form right now. I have, well, to be honest with you, I was about to order the retro game cables version of the component cables, and then for the first time in what feels like years, there was whispers from HD Retrovision about the Dreamcast component cables that everyone has been waiting for many years for, including myself. So I'm hoping to be able to get those because I have the rest of their cables and I want those as much or more than any of them now. So hopefully those will make it to the market, and I know he's having a tough time right now, and the future is even in question, can sometimes even doubt. So I hope they can pull through and get the Dreamcast cables out, because I'm sure that'll be awesome if they can make it to the market. So I'll be first in line for them if they do, and if not, I might have to get the other cables, which I'm sure are good cables too. They will be great cables, because I may end up having to get them in the meantime. But everything's working here. I'm going to finish getting the top cover put back together and on the system, and I think that this is done. Everything's working. It's just a matter of loading up some games now, but that was all working fine. And yeah, this Dreamcast got a full restoration and a number of mods today. This was a long day, but everything worked out great on the first try. I can't believe there were no issues after all of that. I'm really happy to see it. So I was getting late even around here, so this long weekend's coming to an end, so I needed to wrap things up either way. So I'm glad that everything was a success, because it's working great. I'm just going to button it all up here now. We'll come back to the bench, get the top cover put back on it, and have a look at the final product. Okay, so hot off the 3D printer is this modified latch instead of this one here, and as you can see it's notched out there, which is to make accommodations for the bigger Noctua fan. So that part is now going to go in its place, so we want to fit that in here, and feels like it fits nicely. We secure that with these don't even tighten down on the bracket, they're just keepers. We'll fit the spring over after. Okay, well it's latching, and releasing, and latching. So that's good to see. This is the side that it's notched on, so now my OCD makes me want to load the spring up the other way. That way. Oh, there's even less obstruction in there, and that spring looks a little straighter, so that makes my OCD a little happier. This shell should just plenty of room back there for that connector too. I mean, that's perfect the way that that worked out, and it just goes back there to live. I'll just everything up. Everything should just nicely go back together. Yeah, everything is nice and tight. I'm gonna go get my smaller screwdriver for this stage because this bigger one, while it will work, it's too big, and all my iFixits and everything won't go deep enough into the hole, either the LTT or the iFixit. So I'm gonna go get the right tool for this, and I'll be right back. So we're in the home stretch now. Put these last few screws in. Everything tightened up. Fit in the finish on that inside. You hear the button that you can click there. Your memory card. There's actually a holder there for one if you wanted to put a spare one there. And then obviously that was working really good when we tested it. Dreamcast completely restored. The Noctua Fan. I don't know how well you can see that on the camera, but I can see the logo inside there. I can see the owl in there for the Noctua Fan Upgrade. Controller port board got a ton of upgrades. Everything is clean as new. Can use the final wipe now that the reassembly is done and my working hands are off of it. But overall, a complete success. So it's nice and smooth too. It's been lubricated. Yeah. This Dreamcast is in its final and ultimate form right now, essentially. Doesn't get much better. You can add I was gonna add the HDMI, but I wanted to go with the component cables into the RetroTink through the selectable video switch, and I wanted to do that so that if I swapped out Dreamcasts and upgraded, if they break down, it's not the Dreamcast that has the video out capabilities, it's the chain after it, and just being able to hook up a working, essentially stock Dreamcast into the AV stream here, and having them swappable between different units. If this one were to die, I can easily get another one and have it up and operational in no time, rather than having to transplant or get another HDMI hard mod for the system. So that's the choice that I made. There's no right or wrong choice. The HDMI solutions are great, arguably even better in some ways. So that's just the way that I decided I'm going to do things around here. And yeah, I'll be very happy to get this hooked up as soon as I can get a selectable video switch, that is. Tried twice now, and the last time I had it all in my cart in less than 1 minute, it was gone. Had my email confirmation text in like the very minute that it was live, and was still unable to get it checked out. So that's unfortunate, but I'll hopefully get it in the next round. There's going to be a pre-order system going up next time, and I'll be sure to get in on that, so can't wait to get it all. In the meantime, I'm fine here. I can still hook these up and play them. It's just I want to be able to get everything hooked up, selectable, all at the same time, and maybe not even necessarily in this room. I have plans to get my basement done for having this stuff all up, and until then I really am fine with what I have here for all the testing purposes that I'm doing, because it's not really quite ready to deploy, because I'm not set up in this room or anywhere in this house right now yet to have all these systems operational. But that's coming one day, so if you guys like that kind of stuff, stay tuned, because there's going to be all kinds of more mods. This was a fun one. This took me all day, but it was a great day, and we got a lot of mods done. This Dreamcast is fully restored, basically in its final form right now. I can't see this thing really needing any more attention or updates or upgrades or anything else for the rest of its life. It's maxed out basically right now. So yeah, if you like this kind of stuff, there's going to be more to come. I got a NES here taken apart right now, that it's kind of going through the same treatment. It's going to be getting all new capacitors. It's got some wavy video, so the capacitors should be able to clean that up. So it's going to get its full restoration and upgrades of its own. So if you like this kind of stuff, I hope to see you guys in the next video. If you guys have any requests, leave comments below. I hope you guys like the videos. Subscribe if you do, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Bye.